Our top story is the proposed changes to Stage 3 tax cuts. Joining us is our political editor, Andrew Clennell. Andrew, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So what's the messaging that you're getting from the government this morning? What are you hearing about it?
Well, it's a pretty annoying way for a story to come out, isn't it? But, I mean, I think the key question here is how much is coming off the top end. So we've got reports this morning it's between 1,000 and 3,000 a year of the 9,000 people on over 200 grand we're going to get. So there's a big difference, isn't there? If it's $1,000, maybe people will swallow it. But if it's only $1,000, how much extra do the low to middle income earners get anyway?
Yeah.
Is it worth the pain? If it's $3,000, it's a real problem. Either way, I think the policy is a problem. People often just see the headlines. They don't attend to politics and news the way we do, or Sky News viewers do for that matter. They'll just see a broken promise. The guy can't be trusted. And I think there's a lot of Labor people I speak to who think it spells disaster for the PM, to be honest.
So presumably the PMs run these arguments behind the scenes, right? They're going to be expecting this target on their back, broken promise all the way up to the election. And so presumably, again, he thinks he can withstand that.
Okay, that's one aspect to it. Another aspect might be, purely speculation, is there another element to this cost of living package we don't know about that he's going to announce tomorrow, which will allow people to forgive the broken promise?
In terms of broken promises, how big is this one? In your experience?
Huge.
In your experience, there's been a lot of broken promises.
Yeah, absolutely
How does this stack
huge
up?
because of the number of times he said it and the unequivocation around it. You know, my word is my bond. They played a Channel 7 grab last night with Kieran. He was like, well, where people deserve certainty. And don't forget, I mean, their primary vote's only 34%. They got a majority, but it's a record low primary vote. I think it might have been 33. Sorry, it's only 34 in the polls now. People over 200 grand voted for Labor in seats like Higgins and Tagney, etc. So, you know.
So, I mean, remember Chalmers put the kite up last year on this and it had to be shot down by the PM. So, I mean, they've always wanted to do this, it seems. Laura and I were talking about this yesterday. Jim has. So, I mean, how much of a struggle is there going behind the scenes over this? Is there much of one? Have you come across?
I mean, well, I think the only thing I've heard is there's been a bit of pushback against dumping the promise. Maybe there's been some backbench pressure, but maybe Jim and Treasury have been urging this. But ultimately, Albanese is very much in charge of this government. That's been the impression I've had all the way along. He's the one who makes the big calls.
Okay. Finally, Scott Morrison, he was already spoken about this too with Paul last night, saying it'd be a mistake to push ahead with these changes. Obviously, he's the architect of the scheme, so he would say something like that, but he's moving on to bigger and better things. I
think one of the interesting aspects of that Paul Murray interview was he mentioned 18 months in. Now, an associate of his has played this down to me this morning, but I don't think there's any doubt that one of the reasons that he stayed in Parliament 18 months is because there's a rule around separation of once you leave the Prime Minister's office, and he wouldn't have been able to lobby or deal with AUKUS for 18 months. I think that's been one of the delays in this job. I mean, last year I speculated on an overseas job. I think it was well underway. I just think that he's waited the 18 months to obey the rules of the Parliament.
Which he can do.
Yeah,
he's allowed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So now he's able to play around AUKUS anytime he wants. The other interesting aspect, even though he'll be in the US a lot, he's able to remain home in Australia, I understand, to do the job.
All right, Andrew, appreciate it.